Two unexpected emergencies aboard United Airlines flights over the weekend. The first one began at Newark Liberty, where a plane had to turn around mid-flight as it was headed for Spain and was all over the name of a Bluetooth device. Let's go to CBS News national correspondent Shanelle Kaul. Shanelle, what happened on this flight that triggered an emergency response of this kind?
Right. So, Liz, this flight was taking off at 6 p.m. from Newark. It was heading to Mallorca, Spain. Everything seemed to be going well. And then a couple of hours later at 9:37, so just 3.5 hours later, that flight returned. It made a U-turn and it landed back at Newark. Why? Well, security said that someone on the plane named a Bluetooth device a certain four-letter word. What word? Well, that is not confirmed, but I can tell you that a couple of people who identify themselves as passengers on board that plane, one of them actually took to TikTok to tell their side of the story, and they say that one of the devices on that plane was named Bomb, B-O-M-B, and that of course then triggered a security response, and security said they then had to sweep the plane, conduct a thorough security check of the plane, and so that's why it had to make that landing back at Newark. There were 190 people on board and 12 crew members on that Boeing 767 aircraft, and another passenger who posted on social media said that the crew members had repeatedly asked people who were on board that plane to turn off their Bluetooth, but still two Bluetooth devices remained on. And then, of course, that triggered the security response that we eventually saw. Passengers who were diverted eventually did get on another plane. There was a replacement plane that took off the day after.
Yeah, it was a wild weekend for United Airlines. Shanelle, another flight had to be diverted because of an unruly passenger. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Liz, this one was heading from Chicago to Minneapolis, and they were forced to make an emergency landing. A 75-year-old man who was on that plane, a passenger on that plane, had tried to breach the cockpit. This, of course, is a really serious thing. So they were forced to make an emergency landing. Here's more from one of the passengers who were on board that plane.
You never expect yourself to be in a situation like that, right? It's a little bit scary just because of all of the unknowns, but ended up being okay.
So that 75-year-old man was eventually taken to the sheriff's office, and they had said that after assessing him and speaking to him, their understanding was this was someone who was going through a mental health crisis. Listen, there were no injuries reported, and the charges against that 75-year-old man were later dropped. But I do want to note that this is seeming to be a growing problem this year, especially according to the FAA. Airlines have reported more than 640 unruly passengers this year alone.
Wow, 640. That's remarkable. All right, Shanelle, thank you so much.